Welcome to episode 63 of Oscar Sunday. I'm Austin Johnson.
I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
And today we go back into the mind of Alfred Hitchcock with Spellbound from 1945. We've only covered Hitchcock one time on this show until now. We did Rear Window about 10 episodes ago. That was a lot of fun. I think this episode's going to go a little bit differently. Something tells me it's not all hands on deck here for this Hitchcock. I think we have a different opinion on this week's episode.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, it's going to come up. Yeah,
it's going to happen. Spellbound, not at all what I expected. I felt like this was what the Snake Pit could have become had it not been in the hands of someone who saw the worth in a story like this. It's very much I thought it was incredibly misogynistic.
Yes.
I felt the story was beneath Hitchcock, Bergman, and Peck. I felt they were all better than this. And it's pretty by the numbers, remarkably boring, and the twist is straight out of Scooby-Doo. It's absolutely bonkers. I felt myself just kind of not drifting off, but like looking to the side at like stuff on my wall. Like, that was a cool poster. When did I get that? Like just, I did not have, it was not keeping me invested. And that's a shame because I wanted to like this with, the way we hunted this down, the way we found a copy on YouTube. Considering how impossible this movie is to find, I was hoping this was going to be like the secret masterpiece I'd never heard of. But alas, no.
Yeah, no. It's definitely not that. It's definitely not one of the hidden Hitchcocks. He's got dozens and dozens of films he's directed and been at the helm for, and a lot of classics, like Rear Window. But there's all of these kind of ones that are just like pieces to this great Hitchcock puzzle, and some of them are bigger and better pieces than others. Sometimes you'll find some of his old, 20s and 30s stuff. Actually, holy shit, this might be some of his best work. I know a lot of people who think that way. You could just really like that kind of primetime 50s and 60s, just absolutely killing it. He has different parts of his career that you can connect with. Spellbound, comes in 1945, labeled as a psychological thriller, but I think you found it to be more of a comedy.
Like an accidental comedy. It felt like a parody of itself. It was weird. Like there are moments of dialogue where I'm like, this didn't require a second take. Like, you're cool with that?
Incredible. So to go ahead and just get all the cards on the table, I have not read your review for this movie, but what did you give it?
I'll go ahead and read my review. I think that's probably the best way.
Okay. Go ahead and then finish off with the number you gave it. Yeah, out of 10.
Okay, I wrote this review last night. The more opportunities I have to dig into Hitchcock, the more I appreciate his incomparable talents as a filmmaker and as a storyteller. His filmography is so dense, though, that the journey will likely never end. And of course, like any director, there will be speed bumps along the way. Take, for instance, Spellbound. The triple threat of Alfred Hitchcock, Ingrid Bergman, and Gregory Peck should be pure gold. But this film is so melodramatic and inconsistent that I oftentimes found it hard to stay involved. The film is also notoriously hard to find, so I guess anticipation was a factor as well. Bergman plays the by-the-book psychoanalyst Dr. Constance Peterson, who is known at her hospital for being very analytical about everything in her life, which is already a weird character trait. Like, I love numbers. When she meets the new head doctor, Dr. Edwards, it's love at first sight, an immovable and confusing love that persists even when she learns he's not really Dr. Edwards and might have killed him. This guy is an amnesia patient who took Dr. Edwards' identity, and Constance puts her career and life on the line to help him find who he is. The journey there is fairly boring, regrettably, and neither Bergman or Peck is doing their best work. The character of Dr. Brulov is an irritating, misogynist bastard who is constantly belittling Constance for being a woman doctor. I guess in 1945, he was supposed to be adorable. Spellbound is one of Hitchcock's lesser works that doesn't quite hold up, but I don't blame him. The direction is impeccable. The fault here lies with a nonsensical story that paints female doctors as swooning lovers in waiting who will drop whatever matters to them if someone as handsome as Gregory Peck shows up and winks. Frankly, I don't think that's a good message. Maybe we leave this one in 1945. 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. Okay, that's what I figured. With the tone of that, it's not a pile of garbage to you, but it's not worth the second look. And I definitely like this movie. I give it 4 stars out of 5, so I would say like an 8 out of 10 type movie. And my main reasons, I agree with everything that you said. The reasons I really like this movie are, I do think that Gregory and Ingrid have done better work, but I do like Ingrid's performance in it. The score by Miklos Rosa is fucking stellar. And then there's a sequence that will get brought up multiple times on this episode. There's a sequence involving Salvador Dali that is fucking amazing, just fucking lights out type stuff. And I was with you. There were moments that were dull, but when that moment hit, I was like, it's totally worth it. It reminded me of kind of the bit we have with Alfred Molina and Boogie Nights, where you're kind of like, all right, what's going on here? And then bang, you just get kind of like an adrenaline rush. And I love when a movie does that. I also agree. I think Hitchcock's direction's very good. There's stuff he's doing here that's extremely impressive. George Barnes, the cinematographer, is like lights out too. This is a movie that, like you said, was hard to find. It's on YouTube. That's how we watched it. So if you're interested in watching it for yourself and coming on back, go ahead and do that. It's on YouTube, along with all the Filmgazm and Oscar Sunday and sneak preview episodes and Giggle Guys. So check those out too. I like when a movie splits us, where it's like there's a clear difference in how we not interpreted the movie, but enjoyed the movie. Interpretation is always fun to talk about, but you can't take away when something's good to somebody and when something's bad to somebody. And that looks like that's what we have on the books today, is a Hitchcock movie that didn't totally hit for you, and one that I thought was worth my time, and I would definitely tell people to check out.
Well, and I would never want to take away something that you thought was good. I would never want to tell you you're wrong, this is a bad movie. I would never want to do that. This is all open to subjective interpretation. What you may find in it, I may not find in it, and vice versa. And the discussion is always what I look forward to anyway. So,
yes. Yeah, 100%.
I'm not right. You're not right. Nobody's wrong. Nobody's right. That's how it works.
And it wouldn't be a fun, hour and a half for us if we didn't do things that are not just about, Spellbound or just about 1945. It's focusing on something that's a bigger picture. And someone like Alfred Hitchcock is very hard to pass up. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while on one of our shows. So today, I don't think Spellbound will be talked about in the next 15 to 20 minutes, but we are going to be talking about Mr. Hitchcock. I asked Connor last night. It is currently Friday when we're recording this. It's actually Alfred Hitchcock's birthday today. Pretty crazy.
What are the fucking odds of that?
Yeah. Insane. I had no idea until I saw it this morning on Instagram. I just saw someone shared a picture of him and said, "Happy birthday to the master of, horror and suspense." And I was like, hell yeah, that's really cool. And, here we are, it's Sunday if you're listening to this, a couple days after Hitchcock's birthday, but we want to kind of honor him, a guy who's got a decent Oscar resume, but his resume when it comes to just cultural hits and recognizable movie titles, he's one of the best ever, maybe the best. So I asked Connor to prepare a top five directed by Alfred Hitchcock movies. I have done the same. Neither of us have seen all of them. We know that. We've seen a handful, and we think that the 5 that we both have gathered are very good movies, and it's definitely worth talking about. I know we're going to have some overlap at some point. It's got to happen. We connect with. We both really love a certain era of Hitchcock out of what we've been exposed to. So this is going to be a lot of fun to see where you have them ordered. We're gonna go 5 to 1. Of course, I'll let you go first. Share what you want about each movie, man, because these are, this is the time. This is the time to kind of shine a light on Hitchcock.
Oh yes, this is going to be fun. Hitchcock is a director I had begun to explore outside the podcast, and then with the podcast, I've just doubled down on that.
Yes.
Number 5 is one that I pursued independently. I used to do this thing on my Netflix mailing list where I would just close my eyes and let the cursor land on a movie. And then whatever movie it landed on, I put it to the top and let them mail it to me. And this one is one that I did that for. It's 1941's Suspicion.
Very nice.
Cary Grant and Joan Fontaine. It was Joan Fontaine's Oscar win. She marries a charming, pathological liar and starts to think that he is trying to kill her to collect her insurance money. And throughout the whole film, you're not quite sure if she's just losing it or if he really is going to kill her. Even to the very end, you kind of still aren't sure. And that indecisiveness really keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time. And they're both fantastic. It's such a cool, I consider it the first horror film ever nominated for Best Picture. Like there's horror elements in this thing that really kind of show where he would go next as a filmmaker. And it's such an engaging watch. I recommend it for sure.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I've heard you talk about that film a few times, and definitely one that's just people have to check out. You know, it comes at a really cool time for him too. I think he's starting to make waves kind of all over the place when it comes to the early 40s, you know. That's where I'll start my top 5 off with, as well as 1940s Rebecca. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a lot of people talk about this one. This is a heavy hitter when it comes to Hitchcock. You know, Laurence Olivier, Joan Fontaine, again, bring her up, George Sanders, Judith Anderson, all kind of knockout performances in this movie. Really make it work. Awesome stuff. It's from a novel that I really want to read. It seems like this is the kind of story that can just kind of pull you in no matter what form of art it is. And you got to love when a guy like Hitchcock takes that and just kind of explodes into what Rebecca is. The remake that was done, I still haven't watched that one that came out, I think, like a year ago. Rebecca's like such a special movie that I don't really want it to be tainted in any way. You know, it's a Best Picture winner. It's a Hitchcock Best Picture winner. So it's kind of in rare air, and a very important movie to my mind, and just kind of the greater Hitchcock in general.
Take it from me, the remake, not nearly as terrible as I expected.
I've heard you say that. And it's like, he wouldn't lead me astray.
I get the hesitation. I really do.
It's just a stellar movie that we got to talk about it on Oscar Sunday way back when, doing The Great Dictator. So just an awesome movie. I would love to revisit it anytime.
Well, it takes, some serious sack to remake Hitchcock, and then even more to remake a Best Picture winner. So I understand why people are, hesitant to check that one out. And every time they've remade Hitchcock, it's pretty much been a disaster.
Oh yeah.
My number 4 is one that has yet to be remade, and is also by the same author who wrote Rebecca, Daphne du Maurier. It is 1963's The Birds.
Oh, yeah. That's my number 4 as well. Yeah.
Right on. Perfect. This movie, I saw this for the first time on the big screen because I had like a coupon at Alamo Drafthouse and they were showing it. And I was blown away. It is so creepy. There's a moment where Tippi Hedren is at a school and she sees these like a few 1, 2, 3 birds on the jungle gym. The camera pans away to look at something else. It comes back and there's like 400 birds on this jungle gym. And you're like,
yeah,
whoa, what was that? And it just gets crazier from there. It's considered one of his like finest works. It's a technical marvel for 1963, how he pulled that off. It's still hard to find the seams in like the real birds, the fake birds, the puppets. Like it's all over the place and it still holds up. It's one of the best creature features of all time. And it's such a fun watch.
Yeah. I would call it like a monster movie. I think it's truly frightening in the sense that when you're watching The Birds, or you're watching Jaws, or you're watching, fucking King Kong, whatever it is, one of my favorites is Crawl from a couple years ago.
Oh, that was great.
I love that. Inevitable, this thing is coming for me. I don't know why exactly. I don't know what exactly is going on. There's no rhyme or reason, I love when a movie is just operating off of that, just operating off the simple fact that no matter what's happening, no matter what people or actors are on the screen, a bunch of birds attacking them is really cool. Is like, oh yeah, I want to see that for 2 hours, sign me up. And then the movie is done so well. Like you said, it's seamless. I think that's why I still have it. He's somewhere in my favorite Hitchcock movies that I've seen, is that authenticity that it has somehow, some way. I feel like he's doing similar things that Spielberg did with Jaws and Jurassic Park. He's just ahead of its time, just by enough, and did it just artistically enough to be really cool and really cinematic. Hitchcock is kind of with movies like this, he's a man of the people and of like Hollywood, it's like he's doing both at the same time. He's giving us this really, really cool fucking movie, but he's also doing it with just the most talent you find. It's oozing out of him at this point. Of course he comes off of doing another huge horror movie that I think is going to pop up. He's just a master at this point.
And I think for me, there's something gratifying in films that are about nature fighting back, like nature going after humans. And monster movies, creature features do that all the time. And the birds is very much just, a swarm of just fucking seagulls destroys this entire town. And we never know why. And there really isn't a why, because there are no whys in nature. And I'm okay with that. Usually I need an explanation, as listeners are well aware. But in this case, I'm like, yeah, I get it. Sometimes birds are assholes. Makes sense. It's just fucking awesome. It's like, yeah, hell yeah, sign me up. Sign me up for just pure chaos. You don't need to give me ifs, ands, or buts. Just chaos, and I'm cool with it. Oh yeah, for sure. So that was your
That's
4
great.
as well.
Yeah.
Well, my 3 is also backpedaling a bit. My number 3 is Rebecca.
Okay. I was wondering. I was like, surely Rebecca. I know you love that one.
It is a very enjoyable whodunit. And I love the idea of the character of Rebecca just being this overarching ghost that is haunting every member of this family in one way or another. She was so perfect, but she was so sadistic, but it's so smart. And Olivier and Fontaine together is just magic. And this is another one we had to track down via YouTube. I remember having a really hard time finding this, and I loved it. And as I've said, the remake is the only remake of Hitchcock that didn't make me squirm. So but of course, now knowing about Armie Hammer, it probably will.
Yeah. I was about to say that. I was like, of course, it gives you reason later on to squirm. Fuck.
But the original remains one of the coolest 40s movies I've seen so far, and just like a genuine kind of, I think, reflective moment for Hollywood in regards to Hitchcock, where they realized, oh shit, this guy's a player, and here we are.
Yeah. I think speaking to its influence, like you said, with the title of Rebecca and this overarching kind of just like power, this force. Movies now do that. Horror movies are going to do that forever. They're gonna do like whatever it is, if it's Carrie or if it's pointing out this female character, and that it's just this kind of creepy figure, this thing, the witch. Movies are going to constantly do that. Just kind of call out what it is in the title, but still leave you just kind of like, what the fuck is it? and that's power. That's like serious power in movie making, and just kind of influencing the industry that we love, for decades. So he's done that over and over.
Oh yeah. And I think you can kind of pinpoint Rebecca as the turning point for his career in Hollywood, where he's pretty much given carte blanche from that point on, until certain films where they were like, whoa, respect the code. And he's like, fuck the code. And I love that. We'll get to that.
Get the code out of here. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. So that's your number 3, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going with another classic. Mine are pretty predictable here. I do love me some popular Hitchcock, so I'm going with 1959's North by Northwest. Just a just a easy, breezy fucking watch. A movie that one of the movies that reminds me why I kind of watch movies. Kind of, I like this pace. I like when I'm entertained with this sort of pace. It's moving in this direction. And that may be my favorite thing about Hitchcock is his understanding of, I got to keep my audience engaged. And what's the best way to do that right now? And it's like he's making that decision on the fly. It's really crazy. In North by Northwest, one of my favorite lead performances by Cary Grant. He's just stellar in that movie. I like him in that movie and Charade a lot, those two, but he's just fucking perfect in this movie. I think James Mason is someone I'd like to shout out as well. Those two performances are ones that stick out to me. I need to rewatch this. It's on HBO Max. I own it, but I hope people still check this movie out. You know what I mean? It's one of those just perfect movies with a Cary Grant playing a New Yorker. It just kind of works all the way around.
James Mason is an actor I discovered like 2-3 years ago with The Verdict and have just fallen in love. He is such a talented force, and I love everything I've seen of his. And yeah, North by Northwest, great shout out. I'm glad one of us had that. I love it because it's almost like a comedy of errors. It's all of it is circumstance, wrong place, wrong time. And Grant plays it so authentically that you just fall in love. You're like, of course, I follow this guy anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like Harrison Ford. It's like it's like Robert Redford, Harrison Ford, these guys, Brad Pitt, these guys that I don't give a fuck. Whatever they're doing, I'm in. I'm in. Cary Grant is like one of those guys of the 40s and 50s.
He had that quality that separates the bit players from the leading men. I don't know what it is. It's this charisma that every few actors seem to have of their generation. Grant was definitely the guy of the 40s and some of the 50s too.
Yeah, has a few, kind of bangers in the 50s. So yeah, he's the man. Totally worth your time. If you haven't seen North by Northwest, you won't be disappointed. You know what I mean? It might not be your favorite Hitchcock, but you will not be disappointed.
That one's got one of my all-time favorite Hitchcock scores. The score of North by Northwest is super fucking tense and just holds you in the whole time.
Yeah. The tempo, the pace, it's just, it's so consistent. And it reminds you like, oh my God, this is why I watch movies. It really does. I'll bring Harrison Ford back up. It does that same thing that like Raiders of the Lost Ark does. Like, holy shit. when scene after scene is just stacked onto each other with the music and with the performances, it's just fun as hell and you can't deny it.
Well said. Yeah. There's a few I was reluctant to leave off this list. North by Northwest is definitely, if I was making a top 10, it's in there.
Yeah. There's one that I had to leave out that I'm hoping pops up here. I don't think it is actually, but I love it. Maybe you haven't seen this one. Maybe that's what it is, but there's one I had a hard time leaving out.
My top two, if you know me at all, are incredibly predictable, but I don't care. I love what I love.
Yeah, well, same here. So let's hear your number two and see if it's the same as mine.
My number two is the only Hitchcock film we've talked about in depth on this podcast thus far, Rear Window, 1954.
Okay, so that's my number one. So I think
we flip-flopped.
I think everybody knows what's coming. Yeah.
How could it not be?
Let's talk about Rear Window. Yeah.
Rear Window. I think that's got that, or Rope is the film where Jimmy Stewart effectively started to replace Cary Grant as Hitchcock's like go-to guy. And it's a match made in heaven. Hitchcock and Stewart. My God. It's fucking Scorsese and De Niro. It's beautiful. And Rear Window is such a fun, tense, engaging thriller that is just so enjoyable from beginning to end that I don't know what more I could say. I know that we spent pretty much the entire episode gushing about that movie.
Yeah.
Enough said. Go see Rear Window. Watch it. It's awesome.
It's absolutely spectacular. It's on Amazon Prime right now. If you have that, go check it out. Incredible movie. If you haven't seen it, you're probably not listening to this kind of a show. It's so damn good. Everything about it. There's everyone in it. Thelma Ritter and Grace Kelly, Wendell Corey, all these people are spectacular. But it's that, like you said, Alfred and Jimmy Stewart together is just kind of uncanny. It's kind of crazy watching two guys work together that just know exactly what's going on. Cary Grant definitely, like you said, had that, but I think we both prefer Stewart. Stewart has something kind of weird about him. And I love weird actors. I love those guys who can just dominate a movie. And Jimmy Stewart does it with a different kind of swagger than anybody else. In Rear Window, he's doing it while sitting down the whole time. And a movie that can take place in one room, looking at a bunch of different places, across the way at an apartment building, that's kind of got my interest.
Yeah.
Same with The Birds. Okay, on paper, you already have me. I mean, that just sounds cool. And then you put these people into the positions to make the movie happen. It's bound to work. One of the best 50 movies I think either of us have had the honor of seeing. It's just breathtaking stuff. But it was hard to put it ahead of the other one. Very, very difficult. It's kind of a coin flip between these two. I think Rear Window has, for me, an ending that I like just a little bit more. I think that's what it sets it over 1960s Psycho.
Yep.
My number two, your number one. I mean, yeah, when we started podcasting, it was something that you had been wanting to do really bad. It's something that you were like, I got to do this. I've been working on doing this. I want to figure out a proper way to do this. How can I release stuff weekly that, people want to be on board with, and I was like, well, that sounds super interesting to me. And of course, right away, one of the things we talked about was Psycho. It was like, when are we going to do Psycho? What are we going to do for Psycho? It's one of those movies you first talk about. There's more movies we haven't done on Filmgazm yet. We're approaching episode 150 soon. There's movies we haven't done that are on that list, of just classic, huge, monumental horror movies. But we had to do Psycho. Psycho was something we had to do. We did it in 2020. It hit its 60th birthday, so it felt right to do it then. And I just remember having a blast, just kind of gushing about that movie on a different podcast.
Yeah, Psycho is special. It's kind of Hitchcock's undisputed masterpiece in a lot of circles. It's the only film that felt comfortable at the number one spot for me. It was my introduction to Hitchcock. It's a lot of people's introduction to like horror movies in general in 1960. Like, this was unparalleled. This was something no one had ever done before. A film about, a cross-dressing serial killer who believes he's his mother. Like, are you kidding me? In 1960? And then to just spit in the face of the Hays Code so hard that it fucking broke is amazing. That he paid for the whole thing out of pocket because no one believed in it. And it gave him like the highest returns of his career, gave him a whole second wind. It's incredible. And it still holds up. It's still creepy as hell. It's fun. It's exciting. It's got an incredible iconic score. One of the greatest horror movie villains ever in Norman Bates. And I think its legacy speaks for itself at this point. It's Psycho. It is what it is. It's synonymous with Hitchcock. It's synonymous with horror films. And you can pretty much thank him for jumpstarting a whole new subgenre with this movie.
I very well said. It's pretty much perfect. And all those things that you're talking about with what it did for Hitchcock, what it kind of means for him to have done it out of pocket, how it has this extra kind of rebellious side because of that. It's like, fuck yeah. And Mr. Anthony Perkins, woof. one of the better performances I've seen from that decade, or maybe ever. Truly something that probably should have been looked at for just straight up best actor at the Oscars. Probably should have won. I love Jack Lemmon in The Apartment, but but Anthony Perkins is Norman Bates. Janet Leigh, incredible stuff. Vera Miles is awesome. This movie is as big as it can get with movies. It's on that same level. There are some people out there who haven't really heard of Rebecca or North by Northwest or Vertigo, a movie that I had a hard time leaving out. Yeah. Great film. But Psycho, you just know. And you not only do you know, even if you haven't seen it, you know what it is. It's the and it's synonymous with the knife going over and over and cut. And that people just enjoy that. But Hitchcock, that's like it's become his signature now that people talk about over and over is what he's able to do with that shower scene. Yeah. It's one of the most iconic movies, one of the most iconic scenes from a movie. It comes from it. It's perfect. It's awesome. So there's no arguments with it being at number one. I just, as a movie fan, Rear Window is more my kind of movie. Plain and simple. They're both masterpieces.
Yeah, no argument here. And yeah, I have seen Vertigo, and it was tough to not include that one. Jimmy Stewart in Vertigo is pretty. I don't know what's better in terms of performance between Vertigo and Rear Window with Hitchcock, but Vertigo, there's a sinister element to his character that just is unlike anybody else that Jimmy Stewart has ever played. There's this darkness inside that character that really works, and I love the whole kind of mystery around it. It's a basic fear. We all have some, I think, a little bit of fear of heights. I think all of us have that. Mm-hmm. And to play with that, our elemental fear is something Hitchcock was doing decades before anybody else.
Yeah. So cool. So cool. We're going to be watching his movies forever. He's the most prolific, big time A-list guy that's ever existed in movie history. So yeah, he's going to be a guy that comes up, and it was cool to do Rear Window, and then it's cool to do something like Spellbound, which is lesser known and definitely divides us as far as how we enjoyed it. So yeah. I like that. I like that he has the movies that are universal, and then he has the movies that have little cult fan groups, and that's it. Spellbound, 1945. The 18th Academy Awards. Sometimes I just think about how far these categories have come, how far this show has come, just obviously with the existence of television now and everything being its own show that's on primetime TV on Sunday nights. The Academy Awards are not always the same. Yeah. But this one, what's really cool about this one is it's actually hosted by, of course, Bob Hope, who hosted like every fucking ceremony, and then it's hosted by Mr. Jimmy Stewart, our man, our guy. Really cool stuff. The Best Picture winner from this ceremony is The Lost Weekend. The Bells of St. Mary's, awesome movie, had the most nominations with 8. Interesting year, but I definitely want to really focus on some of the individuals that are involved. Even if you didn't love Ingrid Bergman's performance, we're going to talk about her. She's an absolute titan and someone that has to get brought up on Oscar Sunday. But we just talked about Hitchcock a bunch, so let's just quickly go through his Oscar resume here, just to kind of get our brains fresh. He was nominated for Best Director, Rebecca, 1940. Nominated for Best Director, Lifeboat, 1944. Nominated for Best Director, 1945, Spellbound. Nominated for Best Director, Rear Window, 1954. And then nominated for Best Director, 1960, Psycho. So there's, famously no wins, gets a honorary award in 1968. But one of the guys they just missed on. That's very well known that Hitchcock is one of probably the best guy who didn't win an Oscar. Typically they try to cover their cover their bases and give every big time huge director a win at some point. Not Alfred Hitchcock.
That's a damn shame, especially when you look at the films he was up for. There's still so much missing. This man has so many like secret gems in his career that you're never going to be done finding them. There's so many films. And, he was working from the silent film era all the way to the fucking 70s, which I still can't believe. And the guy, there's an argument for him to be the GOAT. We talked often about the, who's the greatest in terms of acting. I don't think we've really talked about that in terms of director. And Hitchcock is up there. I think he's in contention for at least, top 3 spots.
Yeah, I think it's similar to the, actor, actress conversation or even someone who's writing movies. I think it depends what you value as a fan. And the best example to me is if you look at Denzel Washington and Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis has 3 Oscar wins, 6 nominations altogether. Denzel Washington has 2 wins and 8 nominations altogether. But Denzel's filmography, when you look at it on IMDb, is very, very full, almost a movie per year. Sometimes, multiple movies in one year. And Daniel Day-Lewis, as we've talked about, and as everybody knows, is a guy who likes to have a high batting average. He, especially later in his career, started skipping multiple years until he took on another role. I think that famous 2002 to 2007 gap between Gangs of New York and There Will Be Blood that's huge, and, and that means he's probably taking it pretty seriously. Do you value one of those over the other? Do you value Daniel Day-Lewis knocking out of the park over and over and over 30 times? Or do you value Denzel Washington knocking out of the park 30 or 40 times, but then having 30 more, so-so movies or so-so performances? I think with directors, you can have a Tarantino who's like, I don't see a weak link here, but he has under double digits, Alfred Hitchcock has tons and tons of movies you could never run out of, but some of them aren't as good. Some of them are kind of weak. What do you value more?
I'm definitely a quality over quantity guy.
Me too.
I prefer good movies over a lot of movies. And like my personal favorite director of all time is Robert Zemeckis, but that's because of personal taste. In terms of greatest, I wouldn't know. I don't think I'm not far enough on the journey to make that assumption yet.
Me neither. I'm with you. Like my favorite is Paul Thomas Anderson. There is no movie that's less than, an 8, they're all 8s, 9s, or 10s to me. Every single movie that he's made is very, very good to me, in my opinion. So that's just how I see it. And, Tarantino, same way. Fincher's kind of in that same zone. The Coen brothers are close to that. They've done a shit ton of movies, and I like almost all of them.
Yeah.
And that's super valuable to have just a bunch of hits over and over. And for you, Zemeckis is someone that has not too many, but just enough to kind of make a collection of really cool movies.
And he's done some stinkers, Zemeckis has, but his triumphs are so personal to me and my childhood and my development that there's no one else who's going to fill that gap. No one else is going to give me Back to the Future. No one else is going to give me Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And it's just, yeah. Before we go on, I want to mention something I saw the other day on YouTube. It was a clip of Daniel Day-Lewis breaking character. And
as Daniel Plainview?
Yeah. You saw that?
Yeah, I've seen that. It's hilarious. Yeah.
It's just a smile. That's all it is. That's him breaking character, is just like one little moment of like, this is fun. And then he's back into Daniel Plainview. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. It's nuts. What an awesome movie. Like There Will Be Blood is the fucking shit. And he's the main reason why. While I love Johnny Greenwood's score and I love PTA, I love everything he does behind the camera. It's Daniel Day-Lewis that's just fucking destroying that movie. One of the better performances I've ever seen. So I love being able to talk about him. And I think it really does. You look at these individuals and you look at what they've done, what they've kind of given to culture. And for you and I, we're on the same page that it matters when you consistently give something that does matter to the culture, that we can talk about, that we are proud to talk about. That's why we're so heavy on guys like Tarantino and Paul Thomas Anderson and Robert Zemeckis. I think these guys like Spielberg and Hitchcock that have these massive resumes, it's fun to just look at it and kind of poke holes at it because there's so many. They knew what they were doing. They knew that people were going to look at their legacy. Hitchcock knew. He knew the whole time. I'm creating something really special. Some of these movies people are going to adore, and some of them people are not going to connect with.
True. And even in, a time in Hollywood when you had to be prolific or you were going to disappear.
Yeah.
Hitchcock was still delivering way more memorable thrillers than stinkers. Like he was like good at his job. Everyone fails occasionally, but even his failures are still pretty decent flicks.
Exactly. Yeah. You can really choose any, take the 39 Steps or Jamaica Inn, or like you just pick one. The Man Who Knew Too Much. You just pick one, and chances are you're gonna enjoy yourself, and that's fucking crazy.
Well said.
Yeah. Love the guy. Love the guy's work. The man himself. That could be its own episode. Ingrid Bergman. Here's a woman who's definitely stolen our hearts while kind of doing this show. We knew about her, but didn't know enough. Now, being able to highlight her multiple times on this show is very special. We chose Gaslight as its own episode, and here we are in the 40s again. Definitely a movie that I think about when I think 40s. I think about Gaslight. I think it's fantastic, and I love that she won for that. She was also nominated for Whom the Bell Tolls. Sorry, that's a tongue twister. 1943, got that win for Gaslight. 1944, nominated for The Bells of St. Mary's, same year as Spellbound. 1945, she was nominated for Joan of Arc. 1948, she got another win for Anastasia in 1956. Another win in 1974 for Murder on the Orient Express. And then her last nomination, 1978's Autumn Sonata. So yeah, the three wins on 7 nominations. This is a special zone, and she's someone that we've just kind of scratched the surface. She's got all kinds of work I kind of want to dabble in. Apparently, she was amazing on the stage. She's someone I want to learn more about, and it's kind of because of this show that I have pushed that. I've taken that further. In Spellbound, it definitely is not the best thing I've seen her do, but she has something. She has something, a star power that I can't really, it's kind of intoxicating. I can't really explain it. Can't put my finger on it. I don't even know who she reminds me of. She's just kind of her own beast. I love watching her. Even if it's Spellbound, which is definitely a little bit sillier of a movie than some of these other ones. Autumn Sonata, she's absolutely breathtaking and that's when she's much older. And then something like Gaslight, in the middle of her prime, she carries that movie. She's so good in Gaslight. That movie is well worth anybody's time.
Yes, it is. Regrettably, I haven't watched any other Bergman films between Gaslight and Spellbound, so I don't really have much to add to the ongoing conversation. A lot of these classic people, I tend to explore their work through this show.
Yeah.
So really, I guess I'll just, wait until we go back to Bergman, which could really be at any moment. She's touched the Oscars so many times. And I mean, her work speaks for itself. She's amazing, and she's gorgeous and talented, and just a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. I remember bringing her up briefly when we talked about Chinatown, 1974, because she wins for Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
I obviously remember talking about her in Gaslight. I should have told you, because I think you'd really like Bing Crosby, Ingrid Bergman, The Bells of St. Mary's.
Yeah.
She's nominated in the same year that Spellbound comes out.
Yeah.
Like you said, you were either prolific prolific or you weren't back then. That's as a director, writer, or an actor, as a performer. And so she's in Spellbound and The Bells of St. Mary's in the same year as the lead, and she's just fantastic. Someone that I highly suggest people just pick a couple movies, pick a couple that she's been in, and check them out. And you'll kind of find out why she was so highly regarded and is one of the more important figures in cinematic history.
Damn straight. But before I watch The Bells of St. Mary's, I'm gonna have to watch Going My Way because it is a sequel.
Yes, yeah. You definitely have to see both for it to all make sense.
No.
Yeah. Oh, man, she's awesome. You can talk about her all day. Like you said, she will come back up at some point inevitably, because that's the kind of Oscar winner and nominee she's been. Gregory Peck, you could say the same thing about him. His Oscar resume spans for about 20 years. We'll start down in the 40s. The Keys of the Kingdom, a movie I have not been able to see, from 1944, that I've heard really cool things about. The Yearling, 1946. He's nominated again. And then he gets his third nomination, 1947, Gentleman's Agreement, another movie I've got to see. And then here's 12 O'Clock High, 1949, his fourth nomination. And then finally, this is really cool when you see this. On his fifth and final acting nomination, he gets a win for Best Actor in a Lead Role, To Kill a Mockingbird, 1962. Really cool to see Gregory Peck finally get the gold. This is like Leo. This is like Leo's run to The Revenant. We're finally, this guy goes against tough competition on his whole career at the Oscars, and then finally has that role that's just kind of undeniable. And with The Revenant, I feel the same way about To Kill a Mockingbird. Obviously hugely important book. This is a damn good movie. It's definitely worth your time to just watch Gregory Peck at work. He's great. So he's not like my favorite guy to watch, but he's good. He's really good. I understand the energy around him that people had around him. The female audience obviously was very obsessed with him, still is today. If you read letterboxd reviews about any of his movies, there's women still just swooning over Gregory Peck. It's awesome. He has that same kind of power we were talking about with Robert Redford, Cary Grant, Brad Pitt. These guys who just kind of transcend through the screen and just kind of touch your heart.
Like, on some level in Spellbound, I kind of get it. If Gregory Peck walks into a room and I'm Ingrid Bergman, I'm going to be like, oh my God. And if I'm Gregory Peck and I see Ingrid Bergman, I'm going to be like, oh my God. There's going to be an attraction there. Those are two remarkably handsome, smoky human beings. And I get it.
Yes.
I just would have written it better.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gregory Peck is a powerhouse talent whose work I've barely tapped into. I have an unfortunate confession to make. I have not seen To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, you'll get there one day. You'll enjoy it.
I've read the book and I watched clips from the movie in my 9th grade English class. But other than that, I've not sat down and watched the entire movie, and I really need to do that. But to me, Gregory Peck will always be synonymous with The Omen. Ambassador Robert Thorne, who makes the worst parenting decision in the history of having kids. I'm just going to swap the babies. No one will notice.
Yeah. In the history of movies, the worst parental decision of all time.
That is still, that movie gets under my skin so easily. It is one of the creepiest movies of all time.
We just talked about The Birds not too long ago. The scene with the monkeys on The Omen. Fucking get out of town. That movie is awesome. Epic. I feel like it's gotten brought up randomly on different episodes we've done throughout Filmgazm. We both just really, really like that movie.
If we're gonna talk about Jerry Goldsmith, The Omen's gonna come up. If we're gonna talk about Gregory Peck, The Omen's gonna come up.
If we talk about Liev Schreiber, we're going to talk about how the new one's not very good, and we're going to talk about the old one.
It's been a minute since I watched that, and I don't really want to again.
No, I watched it for our episode on The Omen, and never again. That's it. I'm done with it.
Surprisingly, the Omen 2 from I think like 1978 or 9, not bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe
Damien
you.
is like a 12-year-old who's like, what? I'm the Antichrist. That's weird.
I believe you on that. Yeah. Okay. That's what?
Yeah.
It's
Imagine
me.
being 12 years old and somebody telling you like, oh, you're the Antichrist, hail Satan. And you're like, oh, all right. Now what?
Fantastic. Oh man. Well, you just mentioned a second ago how you would have written the movie better. Now, the screenplay writer here is Mr. Ben Hecht, and he's been nominated 6 times and with 2 wins. Let's hear what we got. 1927, Underworld got a win for Best Original Screenplay or Best Original Story. Nominated in 1934 for Viva Villa for Best Adapted Screenplay. Then he won Best Original Screenplay again, The Scoundrel, 1935. And then nominated 3 more times in the 40s. For 1939's Wuthering Heights, Best Original Screenplay. 1940, Angels Over Broadway, Best Original Screenplay. And 1946, Notorious, Best Original Screenplay. Notorious, of course, is Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman. Obviously, a movie we have to see at some point.
We should have done this. This sounds really good. I've heard of Notorious in passing, but I've never really investigated. Grant, Bergman, Claude Rains. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. And just two nominations for Claude Rains and Ben Hecht screenplay. So that would have been a cool movie to do. That's one of Spellbound is a little bit, but this is even more underground. Doesn't even have, because Spellbound has a Best Picture nomination. Notorious does not have that.
These are Alfred Hitchcock's films. All of these films should be preserved and put in collections so people like us can easily access them. Like, I don't like this cat and mouse shit. I want these movies.
Give them to me. I think if it would behoove one of those massive streaming services to just go ahead and buy every single Hitchcock movie and say, this is the home of Hitchcock. And go ahead and buy Alfred Hitchcock Presents, so you'll have a nice TV show to kind of pair with it. I think that would be, maybe someone's thought about that, but if HBO Max was like, we are the home of Hitchcock, not just his classics, but every single Hitchcock film. Oh, I would sign up. I would sign up for that service if I didn't have it already. If I didn't have HBO Max and they said, we are going to have every single Alfred Hitchcock movie from, forever, I would sign up.
Yeah, me too. That's amazing. Here's hoping. I mean, I wonder how difficult that would be. I feel like, did he work with a lot of different studios, or a lot of his films just under different umbrellas?
It must be that way, because it seems like it's like I have this weird ass collection of 15 Hitchcock movies, and they're so random. They're all over the place. And I'm really glad I have it, but it's very hard to kind of have like context with his career when you're just watching random shit, but that's what we've been talking about all episode, is he has so much. It's kind of hard to not get lost.
True. Very true. And Ben Hecht, I'm looking at his his filmography. I'm sure he's a very talented writer, but Stephen King wrote Insomnia, and that was shit. I'm just saying, every writer has at least one piece of shit.
Of course. And this is the Oscars. We can't really trust them, Oh man. The next name that I want to bring up is definitely my favorite aspect of Spellbound. It's the music. I want to talk about the composer, Miklos Rosa, a guy who's got a lot of nominations. So bear with us here. We'll start at the bottom, 1940. The Thief of Baghdad, Best Original Score. Basically, all of these are scoring of a dramatic or comedy picture. I'm just going to read the names of the movies. That'd be a lot easier. The Thief of Baghdad, 1940, nomination. Sundown, 1941, nomination. Lydia, 1941, nomination. The Jungle Book, 1942, nomination. The Woman of the Town, 1943, nominated. Double Indemnity, not sure if I know what that word is.
Oh, Double Indemnity. Yeah, that's a classic.
Indemnity. Okay. I think I was going to say, I've heard of that. Look at that cast. Jesus. 1944, nominated. A Song to Remember, 1945, nominated. The Lost Weekend, 1945, nominated. Spellbound, winner, 1945. As I suspected. The Killers, 1946, nominated. A Double Life, 1947, winner. Quo Vadis, 1951, nominated. Ivanhoe, 1952, nominated. Julius Caesar, 1953, nominated. Ben-Hur, 1959, winner. And then we got El Cid, Best Original Song and Best Score, nominated for both 1961. So very long list of Oscar, nominations and some wins. And those wins, are Ben-Hur, huge movie, A Double Life, 1947, and Spellbound, 1945, the movie we're talking about today. So that's huge stuff. This is a guy, I had no idea who he was, but now I won't be able to escape his name. I'm going to start seeing it more because I know what it is now. And when you just go down that list, going from 1940 to 1960, there's like fucking 12 movies there. So pretty crazy resume. We come across that occasionally with these technical people, these folks that work behind the camera that do something with music or, production design or costume design. Sometimes they just stack them up like nobody's business. And they make the performers like, oh, cute. Gregory Peck, you have 5 nominations. I have, I have 20. So it's crazy to look at some of these people.
Yeah, one of these, composers or costume designers talking to Ingrid Bergman and just like picking their teeth with an Oscar, just like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah, nice.
3 Oscars. I remember when I had 3 Oscars.
Yeah. Oh, nice. 7 nominations in a whole career. I did that in 5 years.
I think this guy though, special, Miklos Rosa, because as we've often seen in films of this era, it's really hard for the soundtrack to stand out. And when you see these guys doing things with the score, pairing them with character moments and shit like that, they stand out. You remember that. And I love that. I think that I hope to see more of that.
Agreed. Yeah. I'm with you on that. Can't argue here. I love looking at these people and seeing the connections that we have and how movies get brought back up, or directors. Cause we were just wondering about Hitchcock and the studios he works with. Sometimes you can just look at IMDb and make the connections of these movies that people worked on. This is the cinematographer, George Barnes. Man, some of the stuff that's happening in Spellbound is very, very cool. Very much without that aspect of it, I definitely wouldn't like it as much. I was entertained by the production. I was entertained by the people behind the camera were the most engaging part of Spellbound. and the combination of George Barnes and Alfred Hitchcock is obviously really good. As in 1940, George Barnes won the Oscar for Best Cinematography for Rebecca. So that's clearly a good chemistry going on there. But starting at the bottom, 1928, actually 1927, he's nominated for both The Devil Dancer and The Magic Flame. What in the hell? And then in 1928, nominated for Sadie Thompson and Our Dancing Daughters. So it's like there was no other cinematographers. They're like, we just got to go with this guy. There's no other movies happening. Can you imagine now if Roger Deakins were up twice in the same category of 5 cinematographers? That'd be so fucking ridiculous.
Well, I thought it was weird in 2000 when Steven Soderbergh was up for director for Aaron Brockovich and Traffic. Like,
yeah,
just who's going to win this year? I wonder. Like, does he need both nominations? That's a little much. I mean, give someone else a chance.
Yeah, spread the wealth. That's what you guys do, right? Yeah. Oh man. Like I said, he was working on Rebecca and got a win for his cinematography there. Obviously impressive stuff. The Spanish Man, 1945, nominated. Spellbound, 1945, nominated. And Samson and Delilah, 1949, nominated. The movie poster for Samson and Delilah, Jesus Christ, It looks like Boogie Nights. It looks like the Boogie.
Oh, I love that they were able, the only movies that would sneak past the Hays Code unchecked were Bible movies. So I'm sure they got away with a lot of shit in movies like this, because that is very homoerotic right there.
Guess who directed that one?
Cecil. I remember you.
10 Commandments. Yeah, definitely likes the Bible. Definitely likes telling stories from the Bible.
Does he, or does he just not like not being fucked with by the Hays Code?
Yeah, he's like, I just want to work. Yeah, I just want to make some money. Oh, that's fantastic. George Barnes, you've got a cool resume, and I love looking at cinematographers. One of my favorite aspects of this craft that we've fallen in love with, of filmmaking, figuring out those things, the lighting, and what exactly the film is going to look like is usually my favorite part of my favorite movies. It's usually the way they look, the way they're filmed, the way they're captured, and just I love shots. I love good shots. This next gentleman is our art director. As I mentioned, we've been talking about these people more and more on this show as we kind of realize just how important these roles are within. We all know the names of Cary Grant, Ingrid Bergman, and James Stewart, and these people we're talking about. But these individuals, we're always going to shine a light on. I'm never going to stop talking about that. Never going to let that down. I think it's one of the coolest things we do on the show. So Mr. James Basevi, the art director, another cool resume that is going to have movies that we've been talking about already. 1939, Wuthering Heights, nominated for Best Art Direction. The Westerner, 1940, nominated for Best Art Direction. That's fucking Gary Cooper crushing it. The Gang's All Here, nominated, 1943, Best Art Director. Then won in 1943 for The Song of Bernadette. Fantastic. Got his Best Art Direction win there for Interior Direction. Interior Decoration, Black and White. And his last nomination was 1944, The Keys of the Kingdom, Best Art Direction. So obviously a guy who knew what he was doing, passed away at age 70 and just kind of worked the entire time. So I have a lot of respect for this guy. I love looking at his resume. The first 4 movies are Spellbound, The Searchers, East of Eden, and Wuthering Heights. Pretty cool.
Very cool. Yeah, we gotta look into James Dean. He's short-lived, but Oscar decorated, and I gotta understand why. East of Eden, I picked that up recently. So
hell yeah, I have that too. Yeah,
it is time.
Yeah. That would be a lot of fun to just do kind of an episode based around him, the way we kind of did Olivia de Havilland last week. I like kind of doing that, kind of honing in on somebody the way we did Hitchcock today, giving them kind of like a proper, few moments to just kind of appreciate what they've done and what we like most about them. So I love doing that, man. It's the best. Two more people I want to talk about before we kind of get to our awards and start talking more about Spellbound. It's Jack Cosgrove, special effects. Now, special effects back in the day, much different than now.
Yeah.
Much different. But there's something to say about this man's resume. Now, there's only 5 movies on this Oscar resume, but all of them have a certain significance. Of course, Spellbound being one of them. That's the movie we're talking about today, 1945. Gone with the Wind, nominated for Best Special Effects, 1939. Obviously, a huge movie. A huge movie. One that's just kind of daunting to do on this show. I just know it's going to be a big old 3-hour fucking what the hell Best Picture Showdown. It's going to be very hard to wrap my head around doing that episode. So we've held off for a long time, but it may be time sooner than later. 1940, Rebecca, Best Special Effects, nominated. 1942, The Pride of the Yankees, Best Special Effects, nominated. Since You Went Away, 1944, Best Special Effects, nominated, and then Spellbound. I mean, good Lord, these are movies that we've brought up. The Pride of the Yankees when we did Citizen Kane, really cool movie. And then, Rebecca, obviously we've talked about today, and Spellbound. Gone with the Wind. Jesus Christ. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that back-to-back years you'd have the same special effects, guy in the guy in the big chair for special effects is working on back-to-back Best Picture winners, Gone with the Wind and Rebecca. Two polar opposite movies. Really crazy.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding the nature of special effects in the 40s, but what exactly did he do in Pride of the Yankees?
That's the one movie where I was like, because it's obvious in Spellbound, there's some stuff going on. There's kind of some advanced stuff. And then there's one scene that's laughable when they're skiing in the background. It's like, oh God, look at this. This is pretty bad. But then there's stuff later on in the film in the dream sequence that's really cool.
True. But Pride of the Yankees, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward biopic of Lou Gehrig. You've got Babe Ruth playing himself, so maybe that's the special effect.
Yeah, is there something we're missing? Yeah, like
I don't know.
Is there something we forgot? Is there a scene that used special effects? I don't know, because these movies, they're obviously in comparison to what's up for best special effects today it's just totally different. It's a totally different category now, and the movies that are in that category are fucking intense. It's like that they literally can't exist without that operating. So I love looking at this stuff and kind of thinking about something like the Pride of the Yankees. How was that even up for debate within this category? Great movie, love it, but I don't know. It doesn't make much sense.
I'm starting to think there was like a dream sequence that I've just forgotten about or something. It has to be.
Yeah, you would think, right? Like there's a dream sequence in Spellbound. Maybe there's one in Pride of the Yankees with Lou Gehrig. I don't know. Maybe we fell asleep during that part. I don't know. I liked that movie though.
Yeah, I enjoyed that movie very much. I don't think I fell asleep.
I thought it was really good. Yeah. Last guy here. Talking about 3 movies we just talked about. All these people working on the same thing. Hal C. Kern. He's the editor, the official film editor for Spellbound. Also won for Best Film Editing, Gone with the Wind, 1939. Was nominated in 1940 for Rebecca. And then was nominated again in 1944 for Since You Went Away. So these are movies that just kind of kept coming up during this discussion with all these people that are working behind the camera. Maybe they're out having, coffee and cigarettes, on a daily basis, just kind of talking and chatting. And this is their life. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. You packed up, you edited Gone with the Wind, and then in the next booth, you're editing Rebecca, and you don't even know the impact you're having on culture with these films. Like at the time, I doubt like the film editor, he's got a cigarette in one hand, glass of whiskey in the other, just editing this thing in like a soundproof booth and just, cut, print, check the gate. All right, moving on. Like, do you think they knew at the time? I don't think they did. I think to them, editing like probably 9 different movies a day.
Yeah.
I'm surprised there weren't many like splice problems where like, halfway through Gone with the Wind, fucking King Kong starts or something.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. Yeah, they're just working off the same fucking 10 lots in Hollywood, It's crazy.
I gotta say, I miss the impeccable poster designs that we had in the 20th century. What happened to like the artistry of designing a movie poster? It seems pretty by the numbers these days, but back then it was an elaborate painting. And I miss that. I'm looking at them right now. Like, these are gorgeous works of art.
Yeah, no, it honestly is. That's a big deal to me as well. I think there, obviously was a time when movie trailers were just kind of non-existent, and they were kind of like really weird and kind of a joke.
Yeah. Like
the Heiress trailer is hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. It's like, here are the stars, Olivia de Havilland, and it's just hilarious. Montgomery Clift, they just kind of, it's like it's a basketball game. Like, what are we doing? And obviously trailers have changed over time to this whole different beast, and they can be super effective. Same with posters, where you can really kind of align that with your experience with the film. I think there have been some effective ones, but it's so rare. It's so rare these days that you get a poster that's just to die for. I think my favorite one that I own is the Hereditary poster of Toni Collette, and Charlie's right below her, kind of like doing a weird little thing, and it just has Hereditary right in the middle with the white lettering. It's just an epic poster that I immediately go to the place I want to go to when I look at the poster. I think Rebecca has a fucking cool ass poster. I think that's one that stuck out to me when we've been looking at these films. The Rebecca 1940 poster is awesome. It's something I've always wanted to own. The North by Northwest poster, 1959, really cool. Really up until I think like the 2000s, the late 90s, 2000s, people just started like running out of ideas, I guess. I don't know. The originality is lacking, but it can be such an important little kind of piece to kind of put with the film. I love that you kind of care about that too.
I feel like as trailers got better, posters got worse.
Yeah.
Which I wonder if there's some reason behind that. Because I very much, movie posters are an art form. It's like all I've got, my art in my house is movie posters.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like my personal favorite, it's a pretty basic one, but it's Venom from 2018. Yeah. And it's the teaser poster where it's just two giant eye slits. That's it. And a sea of black. And like anybody who knows who Venom is knows that's fucking Venom right there.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's just, little shit like that. So they still do. You get the occasional cool poster, but most of the time it's, at least for mainstream films, it's the hero with his back to the poster looking out at something, or it's, biggest name star in the middle and all the little stars around him. And then like an explosion in the title and some tagline they made up in 5 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely the go-to these days. It's like, let's use our cast. Let's kind of place them around. The smaller character they are, the smaller they are on the poster, And
I blame Star Wars for that specific poster design.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it became a snowball effect. Then every superhero movie was like, let's just fucking do that, Which is why also I'll shout out a movie I'm not in love with, but I think has one of my favorite posters of all time just straight up all time. Now, I was going to say the past decade, but of all time is the Dark Knight Rises one where Bane is just holding the mask. He's just holding the Batman mask, and all you see is, rises, and it's fucking Tom Hardy's Bane just in the shadows, kind of holding them, like he just fucking squashed Batman. And that was a really cool poster that I remember seeing kind of all over the place, like in dorm rooms, shit like that. That one's really cool. A recent one that I like a lot. It can be even more impactful than the film itself. I love that we're talking about movie posters. It's great.
Well, I feel like it's, a lot of people don't. Like, a lot of people just kind of write off posters and trailers, but I go back to them. I go back to posters. I watch old movie trailers all the time. That's an art form to me. Like, one of my all-time favorite trailers is Avengers: Age of Ultron. Frankly, I don't think the movie delivered that well. I liked it, but it was not what that trailer promised. But the trailer is so creepy. It looks like just pain, agony, and darkness is coming with Ultron, and it's so cool. And I love when a trailer can just kind of mesmerize me. Just wanted to shout that out.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have all these podcasts if we didn't care about everything surrounding a film, even the trailer, the poster, just kind of the anticipation leading up to it, and then the afterlife after it's happened, and then owning something that represents it. You feel like it represents you as well. You're like, I chose this because this is my shit, So yeah, I know, I'm with you, man. The posters that I have that I keep, the ones that I want to put up on my wall those are super special movies to me, super special pieces of me, art that I consider stuff that I kind of need to survive, to kind of cope with everything going on. So Yeah, fuck yeah, man. I think it's super important. All those things matter. It'd be a lot of fun to just kind of solely focus on movie posters for like an hour on one of our episodes, and just maybe do some research and figure out what our like favorite 20 movie posters are. That'd be so much fun.
That would be a blast. I would enjoy that.
Take movie kind of away from it and just talk about the artwork and what we like about it, what it kind of represents for us. Love it, man. It's really cool. And that's, that's a segue I didn't know was going to happen to get into the 18th Academy Awards. This is, of course, where Spellbound competed, won one Oscar, but had more nominations than I kind of expected when we first decided to do this movie. I was like, oh, it actually kind of racked up quite a few overall, and we've obviously talked about almost all of them right here. The one that we haven't brought up at all, and that's because this is the only nomination this guy got. It's Michael Chekhov. Michael Chekhov, who's pretty. You like him in this movie, right? He's pretty good. He's
Dr. Bruloff, the misogynist, right?
Well, I know you don't like his character, but he's pretty. It's pretty. Yeah. It's his only nomination ever for Best Actor in a Supporting Role. Oh yeah, he's a piece of shit. Yeah. Total piece of shit. Like just kind of evil, classic supporting actor type nomination to me. These have happened forever. These will continue to happen. When someone plays a certain type of evil with like an elegance, with a professionalism, it just kind of gets the Academy just every time.
Yeah, I agree. But weirdly, in 45, I feel like this guy wasn't seen as evil. He was seen as more as like the comic relief, which is even sicker.
That is a lot sicker. You're probably right. That is disgusting. But I mean, if you want to be honest about it, that's probably what was going on. He lost to James Dunn. A tree grows in Brooklyn. Also nominated was J. Carroll Naish for A Medal for Benny. Robert Mitchum for The Story of G.I. Joe. Jesus. and good Lord. And John Dahl for The Corn is Green. I haven't seen any of those.
That is a terrible film title. No one now is ever going to watch a movie called The Corn is Green. But then Robert Mitchum in the story. I know it's not G.I. Joe as we know it, but still, it's like, what? It's fucking G.I. Joe? That's cool. I wasn't aware Robert Mitchum had any nominations, so that's cool.
Same. Yeah. That kind of just took me by surprise right there. The Corn is Green stars Bette Davis. So maybe we will have to watch it just kind of one day. You never know.
I have a feeling I've made fun of this movie before. Have we been to this Oscars before?
I don't think so. I don't think we've done 1945. Let's see. We did 1944 with Gaslight. We did 1947 on this, with Monsieur Verdoux. We did 1940 with Great Dictator. What else have we done? Citizen Kane, 1941. Yeah, no, we haven't been here before.
I wonder why. I've heard of The Corn is Green before. I don't know. I'm having the weirdest deja vu. Anyway.
I love that. It's kind of like hearing Spellbound. Yeah.
I don't know my name, and I might have killed a doctor.
Yeah. Jesus, there's so much there. Spellbound, quite possibly its greatest feat is winning the win that it got for best score. Do you see how many movies?
This is ridiculous.
Like 40 movies.
Like, this isn't even a contest at this point. This is just like, if everybody is nominated, it's not special.
But then, yeah, I mean, how do you pick one out of literally 40 scores? 12, 14, 15, and that's just scoring of a dramatic or comedy picture. You also have scoring of a musical picture over here, which also has like 20. So basically every movie that came out in 1945, here you go. Your music was good enough to get something.
Best scoring of a dramatic or comedy picture has 21 nominees.
21.
Best scoring of a musical picture has 12.
Jesus.
12. Yeah. What the fuck? This is like, how do you get that far? And look at best original song. I mean, what the hell? They were just giving it away. There's no, I mean, can you imagine if we still did it like this?
No, I would hate that. I hate the tighter the better. Always the tighter the better. The more exclusive it is, the better to me.
Like,
I don't mean that. I don't mean exclusive in the way of like, oh, this is a club and you have to be this kind of movie. I mean exclusive in let's choose the 5 best. Let's choose the 5 best in every single thing we do. That's just how I think it's the best, that'll be the best show and the best kind of competition.
I agree. There's nothing best about 20 nominations. It's just, scores. There's no best here. This is crazy.
Yeah. If you win, cool. But like just being Love Letters nominated for Victor Young, like who gives a shit? You were nominated out of 21 other, or 20 other movies, and you didn't win. So if you didn't win, then like no one cares,
Well, look, there's fucking overlap. Miklos Rosa is in here 3 times.
3, yeah. Oh yeah. Victor Young's in there a couple times. Werner Janssen's in there like 4 times. I mean, yeah, come on. Like, what is this? Pick one for each guy, please.
God, I love going back to these early Oscars when they were still kind of figuring it out, and just like so many people purchased like fucking nomination tickets or something. Like, give Louis B. Mayer $300 and he'll give you an Oscar nomination.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. These looking back at these it's just comical. If you think the way that we do and you like really love movies and kind of pay attention to the modern Oscars, it's just comical. It's just fucking funny thinking about if inside 1 year Ennio Morricone was nominated 4 times, like what inside the same category, what is this like? And there's 20 other dudes. It's just crazy. It obviously wouldn't fly today because it doesn't.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. But it did win score. Miklos Rosa, who had, I guess, the best odds of making it out of that 21. Yeah, he had a 1 in 7 chance of making that happen.
God.
But anyway, yeah, that's and then cinematography, director, supporting actor, best picture, special effects. Billy Wilder beat Hitchcock for best director, The Lost Weekend, which I did buy because it's a winner and I want to see it.
Yeah, and then throw Jean Renoir in there for The Southerner. You got 3 huge people, and Leo McCarey too. Massive directors. This is a cool group right here. The only one I don't, Clarence Brown, I feel like I've seen that name, but I don't know exactly what from.
God, he has a bare bones Wikipedia entry. Clarence Leon Brown was an American film director. Wow, no shit. My God.
Yeah, the other guys is like a full paragraph. Yeah, Billy Wilder, goes on. It says one of the most brilliant and versatile filmmakers for classic Hollywood.
Hitchcock.
Clarence
one of the most
Brown.
Influential and widely studied filmmakers in the history of cinema, known as the master of suspense. Leo McCarey, most well-known, like involved in nearly 200 movies. And Clarence Brown was there too.
I feel bad for this guy.
Yeah, not to disparage his career. It's just, I feel like Wikipedia is not really trying here.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do about it when Wikipedia is just simply saying he made movies.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. Tell me what movies.
give me an idea of where we're going. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, of these movies that are up for Best Picture, so it's The Last Weekend, the winner. Anchors Away, The Bells of St. Mary's, Mildred Pierce, and Spellbound. So Spellbound's the only one you've seen?
Yes.
And I've just seen that one in The Bells of St. Mary's. So Anchors Away First off, awesome name. Awesome name for a movie. Stars Frank Sinatra. So, this is immediately kind of interesting. Gene Kelly's in it as well. Catherine Grayson. So I would see this movie just from, look how goofy the poster is for this one. This is what I'm talking about. I love the posters of this time, especially the silly ones like this, where Frank Sinatra, his stature as just a person, as obviously a musician, and then seeing him on the cover of this movie, Anchors Away, is a really fun little tidbit of pop culture.
Well, Anchors Away, I believe, is the movie where Gene Kelly dances with Jerry the Mouse from Tom and Jerry. So I have a feeling this movie's not taking itself that seriously. No,
definitely not.
It's weird that it's here. Like, I always thought that was kind of a goofy film that wasn't very well received. Maybe I heard wrong.
I think that one is the lost one out of the bunch. Mildred Pierce is a film noir, with Joan Crawford, directed by Michael Curtis. Yeah, it's, from what I've heard, very serious. Definitely a movie I want to check out. It's actually the one I want to see the most out of this group, even over the last weekend, which I would love to see because it's a winner. But I gotta see Mildred Pierce.
Yeah, I've heard very good things about Mildred Pierce. I've heard a lot of insane stories about Joan Crawford, and I really want to dig into her in her work. I want to see, did she have the talent to back up this psychotic personality?
You always want to kind of see, well, okay, everybody says they're a dick, this person sucks, but I still want to see, is the work worth kind of going through?
Unlike most actors, Joan Crawford has an entire movie about how much of a dick she was, just a crazy bitch. It's called Mommy Dearest with Faye Dunaway. And there's a whole bit where she's beating the shit out of her daughter over wire hangers. It's become famous. So I want to know, how accurate is that?
Yeah. Definitely want to check that one. Yeah.
Personally, I really want to see The Lost Weekend. I bought it in a half price books at Round Rock that I discovered. It was hidden in a little mall, and I didn't know. So I was like, whoa, and I bought a whole bunch of classics. But The Lost Weekend is one I want to watch. Ray Milland won for this. I would like to see why. And of course, Billy Wilder and Jane Wyman, I adore. So definitely.
Yeah. I can't wait to one day do, a best picture showdown on these movies. We'll bring Spellbound back up. You'll be able to see Ingrid Bergman's better work in The Bells of St. Mary's, and watch Anchors Away. And of course, Mildred Pierce and Lost Weekend. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun one day. 18th Academy Awards. It's come a long way. I expect it to just be vastly different. We're in the 90s now for Academy Awards. We're talking about 18th. So I would think 80 years from now, it'd be a lot different too. As we get further and further into just what's going on in the film culture. So hopefully the show, the ceremony doesn't ever go back to 21 nominations inside one category. I think we're good, but I hope it never happens again.
If this was televised, I feel like reading off the nominations would be like that scene in The Dark Knight when the entire mob is arrested and they're just pleading in the courtroom, and it's the whole damn court. That's what it would be like. No one would understand what the hell's going on. No one would think it's special.
Participation. Yeah.
It's if you made a movie, you're probably going to be there regardless of quality.
Yeah. You made a movie? Here you go. Yeah. I don't like the participation aspect of anything. I like participating in real life, being present. But when you just are handing things out, giving nominations out like it's nothing, yeah. I like 5 up here with these big time categories. Best actor, Cornell Wilde, Gregory Peck, Gene Kelly, Bing Crosby, Ray Milland. That's what I'm talking about. Those 5 people, then you have a good competition, good conversation, good debate, and that's kind of what it's all about.
Yeah. Otherwise, you might as well turn the Oscar into a blue ribbon and a free pencil.
Yes, exactly. The gold has to mean something.
Yeah.
Even if it's, even if it's all silly and games, it still has to mean something because we want it to be more intense. Now for our awards, if you've been with us before, you know what we're doing. We got our 4 major awards. We got the Quentin Tarantino for best quote of the movie. We got the Ennio Morricone for the best music moment of the movie, which is hard to choose from Miklos Rosa's awesome score. Then we have the Philip Seymour Hoffman Award for best performance of the movie, and we have the Roger Deakins Award for best scene of the movie. So I think I had an easier time choosing these than you did.
It happens.
It does happen. I've had a lot of fun on this episode, regardless, talking about Hitchcock, talking about Ingrid, Gregory Peck, George Barnes, the cinematographer, Jack Cosgrove, the special effects director of Spellbound. I always have fun on this show, and it's equally fun to see to be someone who's picking awards for a movie that is kind of tough, and it's also fun to witness somebody pick awards for a movie that's tough, because it happens.
Yeah, it does. And I was able to get something out of this, so it wasn't a complete and total loss. That hasn't happened yet.
That's good. Well, I know the screenplay is probably your biggest issue, right?
Yeah.
Is that probably correct? Just the bones of the story. So the Tarantino is kind of, that's what it's all about, is finding a line you like. So what'd you get?
I have one line early on in the film from Dr. Peterson, and it's during the scene where her and she and what's, I guess, quote unquote, Dr. Edwards are frolicking on the beach or something, or like in a dreamscape or whatever the fuck. They're just kind of walking around in some area that's hard to just like ascertain. But they're talking about the nature of love. And Dr. Peterson says, the point is that people read about love as one thing and experience it as another. They expect kisses to be like lyrical poems and embraces to be like Shakespearean dramas. And I like that, because not a lot of films of this time were kind of pushing back on love. It was, you had a male star, you had a female star, they're going to fall in love by the end of the movie. You just know that. And yes, it happens here too. But you can see Hitchcock kind of poking at that a little bit, being like, hey, love sometimes is hard to comprehend. It's not beautiful all the time. There's rough patches. You got to acknowledge that. And I like that Hitchcock went there with that. We all think about love as this beautiful thing. And yeah, it is beautiful at times, but it also fucking hurts. Yeah. And those are the trying moments. And we see a lot of those trying moments in Spellbound. There are moments where, she's having to give up everything for this guy. And frankly, he's not really holding up his end, but that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Definitely not holding up his end. I think Constance Peterson is putting forth so much effort throughout this movie, and about 50% of the time gets it back.
Well, most of the time he's angry, like, damn you, woman, I don't want to think about that, just like you, a woman, to make me think about that. Like, he has these random misogynistic bursts of anger that just don't make sense. And she's still like, well, but he's Gregory Peck. Like, I gotta see this through to the end. The reward is worth the risk, damn it.
And she's like looking at the audience. You do the same.
I wish to God this had been that kind of movie where she's just like a Deadpool kind of situation where she's like, don't you see
fourth wall? Yeah.
Look what's gonna, like, it's worth it. It's worth it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I love that. I remember that line happening, and I remember just kind of thinking that it was a well thought out sentence. Whoever wrote this down, Ben Hecht, this is something that really means something. It's not just getting point A to point B in the easiest way. It's like really trying to say something about the philosophy of, like you're talking about, of love, and what does it really mean? And in this movie, it isn't necessarily like this super happy ending, it's got its bumps for sure, bumps in the road. And still uncertainty.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, heck yeah. Ben Hecht would be so proud. I also chose a bit of dialogue. It's a lot of Ingrid Bergman and Gregory Peck in this movie, and so I chose a bit of dialogue between them too. Very simple. Also, this bit kind of just made me think about movies at a larger scale. Constance Peterson, Ingrid Bergman says, all analysts have to be psychoanalyzed by other analysts before they start practicing. And then Gregory Peck responds, that's to make sure they're not all too crazy. And it's really simple, and it's a line that can just kind of pass you by. And it feels like it's in movies all the time now. I think that it is in this movie, and that there are seemingly lines like this in every Hitchcock movie where it kind of just explains what's happening. Like, you can't be sure because everybody's crazy, or something that's just kind of almost vague, but kind of wraps up everything. I love when a screenplay can do that, when a screenplay can tell you what's going on in the middle of the movie, at the end of the movie, beginning of the movie. It uses a Shakespeare fucking quote as the title card at the beginning of the movie. I like those little touches when a film is kind of giving you its philosophy while showing it to you. Not force feeding you, not simplifying it too much, not treating you like an idiot, but definitely letting you know that the art of suspense is at play. And I love when Hitchcock movies do that. It's one of my favorite things about Hitchcock choosing his screenplays and choosing his stories. Is it seems like there's always going to be an element of thriller in there, and you get it certainly with these two characters.
Yeah, you don't get called the master of suspense by slacking off.
Yeah, no. not just choosing wishy-washy, stupid stories. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'd like your line kind of a little tongue-in-cheek because he's knucking futz. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and he's saying, when he says that's to make sure that they're not too crazy. He could say that they're crazy, but too crazy, almost like we're all crazy, just making sure they're not too crazy.
Yeah. He's an amnesiac who might have murdered somebody, and she is giving up her entire life for this dude she just met. So who's crazier here?
Truly. Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, you're both insane. Everyone in this movie is insane.
Yeah. The sanest guy is the murderer, who's like, yeah, that makes sense. Some guy tried to steal my job. I'd probably push him off a cliff too.
Yeah.
Like, he's not crazy. He's just opportunistic. Like, yeah, I saw it. I took it. And here I am with a job. And so what are you going to do about it?
That's a whole other movie. Yeah. Perfect. That's so good. The Ennio Morricone Award, Best Music Moment, I've spoken about. This is easily the hardest one to choose for me. I love this score. It's my favorite part of the movie. So what did you connect with from the score?
I picked a moment that tricked me into thinking that this was about to go off, and it didn't. I was like, what? Why would you? Anyway, it's the moment where Dr. Peterson realizes that Edward's signature does not match the book, and the music kind of has this oh shit. I'm like, oh, we're in a horror movie now, but we weren't, and I was like, damn it. It tricked me into thinking oh, this is about to become something completely different. But she was really more just oh, that's interesting. But I thought that moment was signified by the score very well and led you into an area that I guess I didn't expect to be, but also not where I thought I was going to be. Still, it was a good moment in the score.
For sure. I believe I've been listening to this score all day. It's got 21 songs. I believe that one's called Constance's Discovery. I'm
Probably.
pretty sure. I was listening to it today. I'm pretty sure that's the one. And oh man, super powerful stuff. I thought about that exact moment. I love when handwriting is used in a movie. That's such a cool fucking kind of object to use, letter, paper, pen, using these kind of everyday objects to kind of notice something that's huge for a film, huge for a story. I love when that happens. Really cool. this was a toss up to me. I again, I was listening to it all day. There's the music when they're skiing is amazing. That particular scene I don't love because of just some of the editing is obviously very dated. But my favorite of these is the burned hand. That's of course when he burns his hand in the movie, and that particular piece of the score, very short but extremely effective. And take it or leave it, it reminded me exactly of the moment I first saw that famous scene in Fight Club with Brad Pitt. With this when he's doing the burn on Edward Norton. I thought of that immediately, and watching Gregory Peck like freak out, I thought of that. And then I was listening to this crazy, huge, massive piece of music that's just kind of blasting, but super eerie, kind of drony at times. This score kind of zones in and out, kind of make you feel uneasy. Obviously a Hitchcock, kind of trademark is that exact feeling. And the music is a huge part of it. These guys that we look at as icons of suspense, someone like Hitchcock, you really have to figure out, well, if he wasn't the one making all the music, who was? Yeah, because that has a huge hand in how we feel about these movies and what happens in these movies. And when music is put with it this way, when it's this perfect, it's one of the most rewarding things as a viewing member, to just kind of immerse yourself into it. So I was very, very grateful for this score. It's one I won't forget. I'll admit, I think I overlooked some of the stuff in the movie because of how good the score is. That happens to me a lot.
That's fine. I wish I could do that. I wish I could be distracted by something else that's so great that I completely ignore the massive fucked up screenplay. I wish I could do that, but I can't.
It's a gift and a curse. Yeah. Oh man.
I have a feeling we're going to be in the same place with the Philip Seymour.
I don't know. Well, I don't know who you chose because it seemed like you didn't like anybody. For me, it's for sure Ingrid Bergman. She's awesome. She has a star power. Again, she has a swagger, a way about carrying herself that I can't. It's intoxicating. I can't look away.
I too went Ingrid, mostly because Gregory Peck is a good actor, but he does not have range. He's very much just like, I am Gregory Peck, and I'm here to act well for you.
My hands in my pockets. Yes.
I'm going to have random outbursts of anger for no reason at all. And I'm afraid of the color white.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, I had to go with Ingrid. She's the only one really holding this up. And I don't like the character. I don't like the decisions she makes. But there's moments like in my Deacons that show the kind of the ghost of a better movie. And I always think those moments are bittersweet when I see like, oh, this is what we could have had. And yeah, it's definitely one of those moments that put her in this category for me.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I think when I heard you talking about the movie at first and just how you reacted to it, I figured, oh man, I don't think we've ever had a time where the PSH was hard to figure out who to give it to. But I'm with you on Gregory Peck, like not really competing for it because I think he's fine in this movie. I don't think he's great or anything. But Ingrid, yeah, she has a way. She has something in her that I'm kind of down to watch anything she does, anything she's been in, whether she's playing a nun or a doctor or it doesn't really matter. She's fantastic. So this award, while it may be a little bit biased, I don't think she has a tremendous amount of competition. Yeah. Which brings us to the Roger Deakins Award, the most fun award to give out because you get to talk about your favorite part of the movie. Sometimes it's much more difficult to pick out. For me, this scene stuck out like a sore thumb. And when the movie ended, I wanted to rewind and watch it again, so I did. So I know exactly where I'm going, but I'm curious about your Deakins here.
I'm not gonna lie. The whole movie, I was like, am I gonna have one? And eventually I did. And it is the scene. It's a moment in the scene where Constance realizes that Dr. Murchison has committed the murder. And instead of going to the proper authorities, she goes to him and decides to just say, like, I know that you killed someone. So what are we going to do about it? Which was just, she's a doctor. She's smarter than that. But
Yeah.
there's a moment where he's like, well, I could just kill you and go go do something else. Because he's very cold about all this. And she starts talking about how, like, you could kill me, but then, you're going to hang. And you really want that on your conscience. And the way she's talking to him, like she's talking directly to the camera. And it's a very powerful bit of performance in what I figured, what I pretty much thought was a lukewarm performance. But in that one moment, Ingrid turns it up. And I believe that she is like pretty much psychoanalyzing him for her own life. And it works. She talks him into shooting himself in the head, which was like, oh shit, that was a big turnaround. Damn. I could have also gone with the scene where we just randomly see a child impaled on a fence. But
dude, holy shit.
The fuck was that?
That blew me away. We just saw all of that right next to that little stoop. Just bam. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Look at me. Like, what the fuck? But
yeah, good God.
I went with Bergman talking her way out of murder. I thought that was like, oh, okay. So you could have tried harder. You just were like, this is schlock. I'm just going to work through this. That's what I think happened. I think she got the script and was like, I need the money till Anastasia, so let's do this. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard on it, but
that was great. Anastasia. Oh man. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know that moment when she kind of looks at the camera. She definitely, like you said, turns it up a notch, kind of goes into second gear and is kind of fucking overdrive. The scene I chose is what I mentioned at the beginning, when I didn't know if Salvador Dali like artwork was going to be involved in the movie until I kind of started reading about it right when I started it. I was like, oh fuck, when is that coming? And it was obvious, when it came time to kind of see the dream sequence and see Gregory Peck explaining the dream, like what's happening in the dream. It is fucking awesome. It's kind of like a dream world for me. So seeing it on the screen from this particular character was really cool. It's like all this fucking gambling going on. There's these giant cards that look like they can kill you, and these huge big old eyes everywhere. It was a place that I would love to go. And occasionally a movie will do something that makes me feel like a child. But as an adult watching a very adult movie, like something like Spellbound, and just to give maybe reference or maybe more understanding, is like when I watch Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, or I watch Brazil 1985, there's this feeling of just imagination and ideas and creativity just oozing out of it, out of the set, out of the production design, out of just the movie, the way it looks, the way it carries itself. And for this bit of Spellbound, I was like in movie heaven. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And that's exactly why we watch movies, right? It's because you're watching something, you're seeing it, and you want to be pleased by what you're seeing. You want to be challenged by what you're seeing. You want to be, enthralled, excited. And this scene kind of did all of that and solidified the movie as, okay, I think I might watch this again, because that moment is so fucking awesome. And I love dream sequences in movies anyway. I'm a big David Lynch fan. So with that, thinking about, oh my God, maybe when David Lynch was, younger, maybe he watched Spellbound and was like, whoa, I want to do something like that. So I'm going to make Twin Peaks. I'm going to do Mulholland Drive. I'm going to kind of mess with the stream of consciousness thing. And I fell in love with that part of Spellbound. And that's kind of what gives it an 8 to me. There's definitely parts of it that lack parts of the story that are just downright, silly and don't make sense. But I do love what Ingrid's doing. I love the music, and I love the way this movie looks, the way it carries itself. So I'm glad we had this episode. We were due for one that kind of split us down the middle. It's been a while.
Yeah, I think we occasionally, we do need one that reminds audiences that we aren't joined at the hip.
Yeah, we do have key fundamental differences as movie fans. We've figured out pretty quickly that I look for atmosphere most of the time, and you're looking usually for story. What's the bones, the meat of the story, and of course we both love both. You want both things to be hitting, but for me, the story, it's easier for me to look past a kind of weak story to get this kind of atmosphere, and for you, I think it's vice versa. So I like this movie. I hope people try to check it out on YouTube, kind of see for yourself. It's not a super, super highly regarded Hitchcock, but it is an Oscar nominated Hitchcock. It's nice to knock that out of there, Now we're one step closer.
Yeah, true. At the very least, I've crossed a Hitchcock off my list, and I've crossed a Best Picture nominee off my list. So
and Ingrid Bergman, you get to see more. You have more. Yeah, it's always nice to have more stuff in the back of your head. Next week, I'm hoping to add something I truly, am going to love. I hope I love this movie. I'm super excited to finally see it and revisit a guy that just fucking gets me excited for talking about movies. That's Mr. James Cagney. He won his Oscar for Yankee Doodle Dandy. So come on back next week as we do Yankee Doodle Dandy from 1942, a movie that won 3 Oscars: Best Music, Best Sound, and Best Actor in a Lead Role, James Cagney. And was also nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Walter fucking Houston, Best Director, Michael Curtis, Best Original Screenplay, Robert Buckner, and Best Film Editing, George Amy. So come on back next week. We're going to be doing a lot of really fun things. We're going to do something with the Best Actor category. We're going to do something fun with that. We're going to talk about Yankee Doodle Dandy, James Cagney, and the whole bit. I cannot wait. It's going to be loads of fun. So come back for episode 64, and then after that, we'll have a Best Picture showdown for you guys.
Many people forget, Jimmy Cagney. We got introduced to him with Angels with Dirty Faces, and then we watched White Heat as well. Great movie. But many people forget Cagney did gangster films to pay the bills. At his heart, his true love was song and dance. He was a song and dance man. So Yankee Doodle Dandy was him pouring everything he had into a performance that he wanted to be proud of. So I'm excited to dig into this film and into him again. And I had no idea Walter fucking Houston was in this. So there's another bonus.
Yeah, dude.
That's going to be fun. This week on Filmgazm, big old 150th Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 with the whole team, special extravaganza. So excited. Tune in Wednesday for that. And sneak preview, we're going to be going over Don't Breathe 2, as well as Respect and Free Guy, and whatever Netflix is puking out this week. So,
that'll be tomorrow. I'm excited to talk about Don't Breathe 2 tomorrow. Definitely a disappointer, that's for sure. Didn't live up to the first one for me. I'm a big fan of that first one. So yeah, that'll be fun to talk about tomorrow. And I cannot wait for episode 150, dude. It's going to be great.
Dude, for me, like the entire week was just weak fucking movies. I got Spellbound, Don't Breathe 2, and then fucking Texas Chainsaw 2.
Oh, Jesus.
What the hell? Give me a win.
Yeah, episode 150, though. That'll be fun no matter what.
I'm very much looking forward to that. Just reminiscing about 150 episodes, getting to do an episode with all of you guys for the first time. That's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, it'll be special. Yeah.
So great. Check out Spellbound on YouTube if you want to see it for yourself. Didn't do it for me, but I think the batting average here is pretty good for me. I've liked pretty much 90% of the films we've done. There's only been a few films around.
Oh yeah. No. We rarely do something that is just bad. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't come up often, like you said. Otherwise people will think we're fucking Matt Damon and Greg Kinnear and stuck on you. So, I think it is good to find your differences with people. If every movie was just liked across the board, it'd be boring. This movie world would be so boring if there weren't divisive films that literally divide people up in opinions. It's fun to kind of shout and talk about what you love and dislike about something. That's what it's all about.
Damn, Skippy. This was fun. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.